and it's Hotline League episode. We've had so many tech issues, and I forgot to check, and now I don't want to stop the local recording. So if you're watching the beginning of the show, you're hearing me stall while I wait to find 74. It's yippity dippity dee. It's Hotline League episode 74. Sorry about all the issues. We're hopefully going to be able to fix it. And everything's going to be good. Mark loud, Travis quiet. Okay, I'm going to turn him down. Thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring this. I need to go find their logo, which is on my computer somewhere because I realized I don't have that yet. Look, it's been a long day. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. I've finished the play-in stage. That was fun. I'm nocturnal. I usually enjoy being nocturnal, but there's been like a lot of like my family came to visit and all that stuff. So this has not been as enjoyable of a nocturnal ride as it usually is for me.
Yeah, we should say I've been in Vietnam for 5 days, and loud. Mark is too loud. You're muted on Skype, right?
Yep.
Okay. I've turned you down so much. Somebody says Mark Z wrong mic.
Someone said that and I checked, so they're wrong.
Okay. Are you guys able to hear Mark okay? Is he too loud? I turned it down a bit. Either way, yeah, so this is day 5 for me, and I am it's been pretty fun over here in Vietnam. Normally, Brodin and I, we might stick around longer after the end of a tournament, but we decided to come in a little bit early, watch the plans online, but kind of explore Hanoi and wait for the tournament to get to us, and so that's what we've been doing. And it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. So, what did you think of plans, Mark? I know you were talking about it right before the show started.
I was saying, well, we haven't seen G2, SKT, or IG, but I feel like they're all probably better than any of the teams coming from plans. A lot of NA fans are either, it feels like super down on TL or mad that everyone else is super down on TL. So I'm somewhere in the middle where, like, I'm not down on them. I think like they're a very good team, but I think you're having the former world champions, a Korean super team, and a European super team, and then you're supposed to be the North American super team. And it just feels like they are, but it's still maybe a little bit worse. So I think they're like a close fourth, but the thing that I think a lot of people had an opinion on was their play-in series versus Fengbu, where they crushed them. I was going to ask you,
because people were like, "Oh man, they suck and they're losing to a wild card team."
Yeah, so the thing that I said was, this very much reminds me of TL's regular season and a lot of their games that they win, where the first 15, 20 minutes look pretty competitive. And then at the 25-minute mark, they're just like so much better. Like post 20 minutes, they're so much better in the mid game, and team fighting, they just obliterate you, and like close game ends instantly. And that's what happened in that series. So for me, I've watched them do that all split long. They've done that against mid-tier NA teams, and then against the other top-tier NA teams, they actually struggled a little bit, and they, did not have a super good record versus TSM and C9, all things considered. So assuming SKT, IG, and G2 are at TSM's level or higher, then TL has a really hard time getting anything higher than fourth. So that was my takeaway from that series, was not like, oh God, we suck. It was just like, it looks like we're going to have a hard time punching in higher than fourth. I think they'll be better than Flash Wolves, and I think they'll be better than Fengbu. Maybe they choke super hard and like Flash Wolves ends up over them. I think they're a better team than Flash Wolves, but like, that series did not excite me, even though we crushed them. Like, just because I had seen, even though we were faster paced and it was a bloodier game, maybe it was not any different, it felt like to me, than the stuff I had seen all split long.
Yeah. So to you, you're like, okay, yep, this is Team Liquid, just doing Team Liquid stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they're good. So it's not like, fuck, we suck. It's just like, I don't know I can't say exactly what I'd like to see to feel better heading in against a team like G2 and stuff. But I think with how explosive solo lanes are right now, like I would have liked to have seen them crush solo lanes a little bit harder, or even crush bot lane a little bit harder, because it does feel very lane centric right now. It's a similar meta to Worlds, all things considered. And they just didn't look fantastic at it. They looked fine.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of so plans happened. We're headed into groups. And it feels like everything shook out the way. There weren't really any surprises in plans, correct?
No, I think the biggest surprise was actually the game that happened, or the series that happened last night or this morning, depending on how you want to say it. TL crushed Fengvu. Flash Wolves, even though they lost a game to Vega, it was like a super weird cheese comp, and that's kind of what Vega's known for, so they lost the game, whatever. And so people were expecting Fengvu to crush them. They go up 2 games, they're crushing them like everyone's thinking, and then suddenly they just start losing and playing horrible. And some of the members of Vega start stepping up. Their jungler, Ananasik, is just taking over the games and almost carries them back. Oh, are you here, Travis?
Yes, I'm here. Are we getting Fs?
You were lagging on. Well, I got some Fs in chat, and the video's freezing a little.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll just happen from time to time. I don't have a good solution for it. Mark? 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 Why can't I hear you? Mark, did you mute yourself? Can you hear me? Wave your hands if you can hear me. Okay, so you can't hear me.
Can you try rejoining Discord, maybe?
Wait, I can hear you now.
Oh, wait, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Let's just say it was Discord.
Yeah, man, Discord's such a... we're not going to get sponsored by Discord. Discord is such a piece of shit.
Okay. All right, we'll cut that part out. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember when I last... Oh, you were talking about the games this morning.
Right, I was saying the games this morning, one team was crushing, and it was Fengvu, and everyone expected them to 3-0, and then they started playing really, really bad, and Ananasik, the jungler for Vega, started doing really, really good. And I was saying after game 2 that I thought there was no way this team could win because Gadget was so bad, and so was Santos, that there's no way that they could actually win this series, and they almost brought it back, but then I was still right, so hooray.
Hooray. It's always nice
Hooray.
for you when you're correct, I know.
I didn't say it on broadcast because it felt a little harsh.
Yeah. All right, so you've got that. So that happened. No super big surprises other than maybe that was an interesting match. What did you think of G2 going into this week? Because I feel like a lot of people are considering them more like the Western Hope, assuming they can play with their roster.
You're a little choppy for me, so I'm not quite sure exactly what you asked, other than
G2
thoughts.
G2.
G2, I think are really, really good, and I think they match the meta pretty well. It does feel like a lot of solo lanes and flex picks, and they have 2 very good solo laners who can flex a lot of the champions back and forth. So I think they are well suited for the meta. I think their solo lanes are super duper good. Bot lane is a bit of a question mark, not just because of perks, but the sub situation. And so I think they'll be able to win a lot of games in the group stage off their solo lanes. But the problem that I see when they bump into IG, because IG, both G2 and Fnatic played IG last time around at Worlds, and both Perks and Wonder kind of got destroyed by their solo laners. Caps and Wonder, the solo laners for G2 now, got destroyed by IG. So given that the team is the exact same for IG, I think that those guys will struggle. Versus IG, the question is how well their bot lane does and how well their solo lanes do versus SKT. Maybe a little bit closer, but Teddy's a monster, so I'm a little bit concerned for them. But I think Just the fact that their soul laners match up better against TL, I think they should be favored. But the bot lane is kind of the X factor.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out in just a couple days, as everyone I know right now is moving from Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi to catch up with me and Brodin. Pretty excited about that stuff taking off in just a bit. Trying to think of what else that happened in the past week. So, the Immortals and Optic rumor came out. I don't know. Had you heard that previously? Because I'd heard that previously.
I had heard Optic was potentially looking to sell, not just like the League of Legends branch, but even like, aren't they trying to sell their whole like?
Yeah, there were several articles at the beginning of the year talking about how basically the parent company of Optic, they reorged and then they were looking to sell stuff off, and like, so that org from a business perspective has been in free fall despite what what they've said publicly, which has been, oh no, everything's fine. But I had heard a couple of weeks before, actually before the rumor came out about Dignitas coming back in, I'd heard this rumor about Immortals, so I guess maybe it's coming clearer or nearer to fruition since we've now heard, or we've seen an article pop up about it. But I think, man, how embarrassing is it for Riot if you made a bet on these two orgs and then actually the orgs that you didn't take are the ones that come back?
Yeah, that's not a good look. Because it raises questions about like these investors that came in, how invested were they really if after a year and a half they're like, we're out.
Yeah.
Versus the more endemic esports teams which got outside investment. I guess Optic is an endemic, but not necessarily to the league scene.
Right.
It makes you wonder, like,
from a funding perspective, they were not endemic. Like, I mean, they were an esports endemic organization, but like all their financial backing, it was as if it was a brand new.
Well, I think the concern for me, well, you're talking about Optic, right? Versus like Clutch, which was 100% like a new organization.
Yep.
The thing that like I get concerned about was like, did these outside investors just get like super upsold on what it meant to be, in esports, and they didn't realize that they weren't going to see returns for a super long time? Like, where was the disconnect? Yeah, where was the disconnect between like reality versus what you were pitched that makes you go like, oh, get me out?
I think it's called a Newzoo report. I don't know if you're familiar enough with those, but that's kind of like, there are these really weird reports that everybody kind of memes about on the business side of esports, where it's always like esports is.
You know what it is, Travis? Do you have a noise gate on your Discord?
Possibly. I will.
Can you
I will
take
that? Yeah.
Yeah, cause I think that's because like you're not choppy in like a laggy sense. You're just like cutting in and out a little bit for me.
Are you hearing yourself now?
No, I'm not hearing myself, and you sound fine.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, I feel like it was a Newzoo report. Is like, that's what the difference is. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not. Break it down for me.
So there's several of these like esports analytics, or not analytics, but like esports valuation companies or whatever. Newzoo puts out these business reports, these biz dev reports that are like, we've done the research and esports teams are valued at $500 bajillion, and I think the people within the industry who are more familiar with the numbers always look at these things and scratch their heads, but then they use these numbers in their pitch docs and their sponsor stuff and all that because they sound great, and here's this like third-party company that's validating the numbers, and so I worry that, you and I had talked privately, I think, in the past, and I've made references to my content about how I worry that certain aspects of this industry are inflated. You've got companies that are making $0 that are claiming that they're worth bajillions of dollars, and I think there's variations of that, but yeah, I think for a Clutch or an Optic, Optic went in, they bought an Overwatch spot, a League of Legends spot. A lot of people don't know that their parent company launched like an apparel company and a sponsorship company and all these things, and then none of it worked. So they just started to flop,
Yeah, I think that's my thing is there's a lot of people who I think get sold on the dream and the vision and where it can go, and they're not like, well, here are the current pitfalls potentially. Like no one, because there's such a vested interest in getting people into the scene and getting more money into the scene that you don't, be like, well, here's the downsides, here's the risks.
Yeah. I mean, on the clutch front, I think, did I talk about this on the last episode or the episode where we talked about it, where I heard rumors that there was the Rockets sold, or there were like the Fertitas came in as new owners, I believe, right around the time that people in Twitch chat will probably be more familiar with this. Right around the time that Clutch entered the LCS and that whole process was begun. And the rumor I had heard is that the new Rockets ownership were less interested in esports and probably would not have, initiated that process.
Right.
If they've been there from the beginning.
Well, that's a more fair thing. Like that's what you hope, I guess. That it's not like they were sold on the wrong dream. It's like other people came in. They're like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, as not good as that is, at least it didn't show an initial problem.
Yeah. Twitch chat is just talking about whether or not Reggie should step down and TSM sucks. So I don't know, but I don't know if they're catching our conversation or not. But either way,
it's just Twitch chat.
What people I think also don't realize is the Immortals that comes back is probably not the Immortals that was here before. I mean, I don't even know how much of the staff over there is the same anymore. Noah's supposedly leaving. He's like traveling the Midwest, like he's Mark Zuckerberg, getting ready to campaign. And I mean that's the rumor is Noah's leaving. I don't know if that's been announced. And
I mean, Robert Yip is with TL, Nick Fan is with FlyQuest. Their org is kind of blown up.
Yeah, like it's not even the same. I don't feel like it's even the same company that was there in the LCS to begin with. So I think.
Wait, no, Robert. I was thinking of Dodo. Excuse me. Robert Yip is, I think, still with the org actually.
Is he?
Yeah. I think he moved over to their Overwatch team.
I mean, regardless,
I was thinking Dodo. Sorry.
It is really
a lot of their people are elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. Zix says Misfits. So
okay.
Regardless,
I'm on drugs, so whatever.
Regardless, it is not the same company or the same org. So I think it's. I guess maybe that doesn't matter to fans, and all they're going to care about is like, hey, Immortals, the brand, we like that, or certain Immortals fans can be happy about it, or whatever. And certainly, it feels like that brand had more fans than Optic, but it's like I see no evidence that any of the things that fans were used to from Immortals, maybe like their ability to build a winning roster, or their commitment to spend a lot, or their, I don't know, Noah's notes. Like I don't think any of that's going to be here anymore. So it's almost kind of like, in my mind, it'll be the same. Or sorry, it won't be the same.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because then you wonder, would this have happened if you just kept him in initially or something, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know enough about the politics of Noah leaving, if he was pushed out or if he got bored with it or what happened, but it's hard to say.
Yeah. There was one of the CLG got Rune. So Darshan, that's another.
Oh yeah.
Topic. I guess we're just gonna talk instead.
Darshan was like that was always such a struggle for me because I think on this show even I had talked about how I felt like they shouldn't have kept Darshan around, and I actually feel like Darshan's one of those players who could go off to another team and find success. We've seen it before with like Svenskeren, who looked pretty mediocre on TSM and then looks great on C9. All the players that had left CLG and then found success elsewhere. So I hope Darshan ends up someplace else and can prove himself. But he should have left CLG at the start of this year. So this felt inevitable.
I mean, I don't think Darshan was a huge problem last week. He had some games where he died. But they also, I thought they had a lot of other problems, like what they're doing with their roster and with their swapping. Some of their drafts were crazy. I think they had a lot of other problems, and I don't think Darshan fixed a lot of them.
But I felt like having him around, like they needed to have that roster feel like a brand new roster. I feel like, and keeping Darshan was, it didn't feel like a brand new roster.
Well, so like the weird thing with CLG is it's, other than Stixay, it's a completely different roster from the 2016 one that went to MSI and all that. The coach is different. Every lane is different now with Darshan leaving, aside for Stixay, right? And it's like the way that they got there though was so slow, where every split it's a new piece, right? And it doesn't feel like they ever blew up and rebuilt or anything.
Yeah.
And then, because I don't think Darshan was the biggest problem or something like that, even if Rune comes in and is pretty good, like what they go from a 7th place team to at best to 6th, like is that good? Getting back in the playoffs? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine CLG making it into playoffs because like in my mind, 100 Thieves is gonna make big moves to reset their shit, and they will make it into playoffs. And so you have to think, okay, well, if 100 Thieves is pushing a team out, is CLG also going to push a team out? It feels like it's going to. I don't feel like CLG fans can be really excited about Summer Split.
Or like, I think Golden Guardians was good and they can potentially improve. I think Echo Fox gets pushed out, right? But then, like you're saying, who's the one actually getting that spot? Is it 100 Thieves that get revitalized? Is it CLG?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, I think those are maybe the big stories. I can't think of. Is there anything else I'm forgetting?
I'll go check the top of the subreddit real quick.
I was just doing that
last week.
In Twitch chat, maybe. I mean, there was the walkout. So we talked about that on the last episode, and
now it actually happened.
And now it actually happened. Somewhere between 100 and 150 people walked out. Good on them, by the way. Like I have such mixed feelings on Riot as a company, because I feel like there are really amazing experiences that the employees can have there, and amazing stuff to work on, and there's amazing individuals there on the management side. And then I also hear, like, from people I know, some pretty shitty stories about what it can be like there, and the challenges that people face, and the fact that, like, whenever they, I've heard from people who've had shitty experiences and then go to try to find support from the internal support structures there, and are told, basically that they're crazy, or that they, that your issue is not a real one.
We'll look into it, and then, yeah.
So, it's been hard for me as a person who believes a lot in this company over the past 7 to 8 months to reconcile, like, a lot of the personal knowledge and experience I've had with that company with the stories that I've heard. But as I've, dug into it, it's like you realize that there's a lot of big issues at that company, more than I knew. And I'm happy and proud of the people who decided to do this, because I feel like the video game industry as a whole has a lot of glamour over it, and the companies kind of get to abuse that. And we're starting to see that glamour fall away.
I think it's the kind of thing where video games are so fucking cool that people tend to gloss over, like, the problems in the industry, like, as fans. I mean, it's probably true for every industry now that I think about it, other than, like, maybe music even, like, every industry has its problems. But I think the video game one is pretty substantial. And what was interesting to me was when, like, I was reading an ESPN type up about a lot of this stuff, is like what this walkout was specifically about.
Yeah, Emily Rand has a great write-up that I recommend people go check out.
Right, because, like, I obviously knew about a lot of the things going on at Riot and stuff, but I didn't know about the forced arbitration, which is what this is mostly about, it seems like, as well as the fact that, as far as I saw reported, this is the first walkout in the gaming industry history. So like in a lot of ways, that stuff's all like really important and cool, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just hope things get better over there, and again, I'm like proud. I'm very personally proud of the people that decided to participate in this because, this stuff can be kind of spooky. Rabble rousers at companies tend to not do as well as the team players, and people are certainly risking their situations internally by doing this type of stuff. So, happy to see people having that strength. Anyway, I think it's going to be a shorter episode because we had a bunch of technical issues in the beginning, but if you want to go ahead and explain how the show works and how people can call in, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we'll probably only take like 3 or 4 calls. But if you want to call in, the way the show works, I'm spamming Twitch chat right now with the link to the Discord. You're going to go ahead and join up there. Once you get there, join either Pleb Calls or Pleb Calls to voice channel, and you can mute your mic once you're in there. And then in the text channels just above those pleb topics, go ahead and type whatever it is you want to get talk about. Hopefully you have opinions, not just like, I want to talk about G2. So, say what it is so I know what I'm pulling you for. I think G2 solo laners are great. They're going to smash and it won't be a problem. Whatever it is, if we like your take, we'll pull you into the waiting room where when it is your turn, I'll come in. We'll do a quick mic check to make sure everything's working, and then we'll pull you into the on-air room.
By the way, people blasted us on the last episode for not talking about Thorin's video, which came out after the last episode. But we got a lot of dislikes on YouTube and shit. People be like, "How dare you not talk about this?" Now it feels a little bit like old news, but one, it sounds pretty shitty what happened with him in terms of getting baited and then getting canceled. Like, that's pretty fucked up, and I don't know why. It seems like it'd be really simple for them to just be like, "Hey, sorry it didn't work out. Here's some money." And it's not that difficult for a company that big to try to make amends. I am surprised that people are surprised that Riot would not want Thorin on a broadcast. Like, okay, I consider Thorin a friend of mine, but Thorin also has no, like, he rarely filters himself on some pretty controversial political opinions, and whether or not you agree with the political opinions or not, right now Riot is fighting a battle for their own identity on that front, and I feel like bringing Thorin into all of that is just I was just surprised in multiple ways by all this stuff. And by the way, like, this is the part where I share my opinion, and then a bunch of people get angry at me for having an opinion that's not just like Riot sucks and how could they do this and blah 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 blah. And so it's one of those types of things where, like, I oftentimes feel like the community and the YouTube commenters and all this shit only want to hear my opinion if it's the opinion that agrees with them. And then if I express it, they're like, "Wait, no, that's not what you were supposed to say. You're supposed to say the exact thing that I think." But on this topic, I'm just like, look, Thorin has had stuff that he has said before has gotten him blocked from IEM events. He said it was not too long ago that he was saying that whole thing about how Alex Jones is a G, and then having to like elaborate his position on that. Like this, he has a controversial past. Riot is in a very controversial position themselves right now. It does not surprise me that they're not interested in courting more controversy by having a figure who does that. And by the way, that's like Thorin's thing. Like, he loves being unfiltered and sharing his thoughts and saying whatever he wants. And that is not Riot's thing. Like, these are two very different groups or at least two different entities. They're very different. I'm surprised that people are surprised. Now, again, if the whole thing about them saying he was going to come, he booked his travel and all that shit, and then they told him to fuck off, that's pretty shitty, and I don't understand why they didn't just, like, solve that problem, especially because from a PR front, like, they could have given him some cash and he probably would have gone away. So I don't know what happened there, but I don't know. That's my whole take on it. I know it's harder for you, Mark, because you work with some of the broadcast team and stuff. So I don't know.
Well, so funnily enough, I've been pretty busy, and I actually haven't watched that video. And what happened was I woke up the day that he posted it at like 5 p.m. because I'm nocturnal right now. And I just saw that he was complaining about Reddit mods taking down a video of his called Thorin Thoughts for not having substantiated claims or something. And it's like, well, it's an opinion piece, you know? And so I replied to his thing that was like, oh, I always thought Thorin Thoughts were factual or something, and then like then I read the title and like what everyone was talking about in the video, and I was like, oh shit, I should delete this because that was not a good tweet in context. So I was like, oh, now that I see the context of this, I should actually go and watch the video. But then like by the time I was up, I had to go into Riot for like play and stuff. So like I actually haven't had a chance to watch it, and so I don't actually have anything to add. Like, it probably, like you said, would be hard to comment on if I actually knew the context. All I know is that it was a bunch of stories about problems people have had with Riot or something, and his own one with going to China for hosting a desk.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that he paid for travel, and then like I didn't even know that much.
Some people say, except Thorin still gets invited by the CSGO circuit. Yeah, but the CSGO circuit is in a different situation than Riot. And somebody else said something about how I'm a shell. Here's somebody saying I'm a cuck. And somebody said Travis should be or everyone should be as vanilla as Travis. See, this is the frustrating thing. And this is what I talked about. People are like, Travis is a shill. He won't, or he's so vanilla, he won't share his opinion on anything. And then I share my opinion, and people are like, that's not my opinion. I'm just going to make fun of him and call him names. And I'm like, okay, so is the idea that I'm just supposed to like fake having the same opinion as everybody, and then that's how people will like me? I don't get it. Like, people want me to share my opinion, and they think I'm afraid to share it. But then when I share opinions that I know people aren't going to like, I get made fun of. So I don't know what the Twitch chat is.
I think you just gotta shrug it off. I had a video once where I was like, being a pro, I forget why people started talking about. People were like, man, they just sit there and play video games all day. And I was like, actually, it's really fucking hard. And your life sucks when you're a pro player because this is all you get to do. And a bunch of people were like, bruh, it's not that bad. Yeah. You get that all the time. People disagree.
Yeah.
I wish cuck was a word when I made that video. Yeah. It wasn't around yet.
If all my opinions are so boring and safe, then why is it that whenever I share them, I get so many dislikes on YouTube? TSM fans are delusional. Anyway, Mark, like, in my opinion, the safe opinions are the ones where people like upvote and say Travis is great, we totally agree with them, like leading into the groupthink on stuff. Those are the safe opinions. The unsafe opinions are the ones where I'm like, okay, I'm going to share this opinion, people are going to get angry, this video is going to get disliked, it'll do worse in the YouTube algorithm, my numbers will be worse, and my other videos will get hit hard. But I'm going to say it anyway.
But here's the thing, Travis. You agreed with Riot in some sense, so therefore you're a shill.
I mean, the funny thing is, usually I disagree with everybody. And you know, there's this weird rising tide recently. I talked about this on the last episode, where people are like, Travis is such a Riot shill. I'm like, really? Go watch the interview with Riot Chopper from Spring Finals and tell me I'm a shill, because I was asking questions there that nobody else is asking Riot about, like the rumored 100 Thieves boycott and I don't know, a bunch of other shit. Whatever. Shall we actually move on to callers?
No, I want to hear you complain some more about fans watching your videos.
It's so nonsensical, and anybody who ever thought about it for a second would figure it out. But anyway, if I feel like we've probably got some people in the waiting room. Looks like we do. Yep. I should mention, by the way, that if you are a sub, feel free to put your topic in the subtopic chat, and you can get pulled in there. It moves a little bit slower there, so maybe we'll catch you. We might not have too much room for calls this episode because, as we said, we had some tech issues. Mark is pulling the next caller. I'm going to go ahead and read out some subs. Thank you, everyone who sticks around. And by the way, I know a bunch of people say like, "Hey, you're only reading the hater comments." Well, it's tough. Go look at the like to dislike ratio on the last one. It's way different. Or the last Hotline League. It's way different than the other ones. Hey, we've got Matthew here. Matthew, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Maine.
From where?
Hey.
Maine?
Maine. Okay. Is that close
we're
to
to Ice
you,
Cube.
Mark?
It's not that close. It's like 5 or 6 hours. Well, depending on where you go in Maine.
Yeah.
Like 5 hours north of the Boston area.
Well, Matthew, what do you want to talk about on the show?
So I want to talk about how like this is the most competitive MSI we've ever had, and I don't think like the odds are skewed to like one team. Like I think in the past it's been like 90% the Korean team's going to win, with the exception of last year. I also think it's really likely that G2 or Team Liquid will make finals because of this. I don't think any team's like really far ahead. I actually have percentages here for like
Maybe.
each team respectively. I have IG at 40%, SKT at 30%, G2 at 15%, Team Liquid at 10%, and Flash Wolves at 5%. Sorry, Fongbu, you don't really get a percentage, but I think like this is the most like competitive we've ever had, and I think like as a fan, just watching it is like much more exciting because I don't really know what's going to happen.
I would say.
See, I like as a North American fan, I especially one who is like pretty timid about Team Liquid's chances and G2's chances. It's hard to feel as though this is much more like up in the air than previous tournaments.
I mean,
I think the top. I was gonna say I think the top end is probably a little closer. I feel like in that sense, usually you come into MSI with a clear-cut favorite, and maybe it doesn't always work out. Like when EDG upset them, or when they lost last one. But I think this time, like IG is the favorite to me, and I actually have them as I personally think that they will probably win. But like RNG won last time, stuff like that. I think all the teams should be very good. Like a lot of these are super teams within their own regions, and that's what makes it really, really hype. And there was an interesting discussion I was having last night with someone about how, like, if it is true that 1 through 4 are really, really close, that makes the upset potential of some of the other people like good. So if someone loses a close game, like let's say IG, because in the past IG has sometimes like kind of inted a best of 1, like. If they int a little bit into Team Liquid or something, then Team Liquid picks up a win versus IG. It kind of throws the whole group up in the air, where like someone who should be the 4th place team is suddenly the 3rd place team, and then they're playing the 2nd place team in the quarterfinals, and suddenly like maybe you get these weird like NA versus EU semifinal matchups where one of the West is making the finals or something. If it actually is as close as people are saying.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting if like IG and SKT matched up like early in like the 1st or 2nd round, so it forced like the finals to be with a Western region, and assuming like Flash Wolves doesn't make it out of groups.
Yeah,
like,
I think
they match up.
I don't
think Flash Wolves. Sorry, go Travis.
No, I was just gonna say if that happens, I just don't want like those scenarios are always really cool until the Western team gets smashed in the finals. And so that's the problem for me is like, yes, maybe it would be cool if we end up with like West, West, East, East, and then, West, East finals. But then whenever it just becomes like a crappy 3-0 because the Western team crumbles, it's like, it's just a bummer.
I guess, but like, I feel like that just happens sometimes anyways. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, it's true.
there's been 3-0s between East versus East has had those as well, where it's just like, oh, wow, that team got crushed.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yes. I feel like historically you probably have a better chance of a good final if it's East-East than East-West, but I know what you mean. It just happens sometimes.
Right, and I think even if you get the Western team in there, like Fnatic fans probably don't regret getting to the finals, even if they did get just slammed.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, it's good for the region
or
for
G2
sure.
get there. Yeah.
I guess to your point, yes, I would rather have a East-West finals where the West gets slammed than have it be an East-East finals where it's like a 4-game series. But it still doesn't feel good in either of those situations, you know?
Yeah, the ideal one is West versus East in a 5-game epic. But
yeah.
Well, if you have a team like G2 in the finals who will just do crazy stuff, they could literally just win off a tree's strategy. So I probably, like, if it's G2 in the finals, it probably won't be a 3-0. They'll probably do, like, some weird comp and pull off a game or something.
I think you can maybe do that, but, like, it's super hard to win a series like that. Like, historically, in best of fives in international competition, I can't remember a team that has, like, advanced through the best of 5 with, like, super cheese. And, like, people like to talk about, like, the EDG, like, Morgana mid pick, like, that's some super cheese. Like, it's not. Like, if SKT lost to Misfits 2 years ago with, like, the Leona picks and, like, all that weird stuff, I'd be like, God damn, that's incredible. But it just generally doesn't.
No, I didn't mean like
winning you. Yeah.
I didn't mean like win the series. I just meant like to Travis's point, like of a 3-0. I was just saying like G2 would probably pull off like at least a game in the finals because of a cheese strategy. So it wouldn't be like just a 3-0 stomp.
Yeah, I could maybe see that. I think I'm hoping that you're right, that it is very competitive. And I think no matter what, group stage will be sick because it is such a carry-focused meta in the solo lanes, and there's so many good solo laners in the tournament that, like, there'll be a lot of sick pop-off games. There'll probably be some upsets. So I have no doubt the play-in stage and the group stage will be dope. I hope that the actual, knockout stage does not turn into, like, 3-0, 3-0, and then the finals is a 3-0 because it's so skilly, swingy kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. For me personally, I'm going into this tournament with zero expectations. I'm trying not to get too excited because I think it's really hard to feel confident in the West. Look, I mean, maybe there's a world where TL goes on some massive tear and it's sick, but I just don't really know what to expect, and that usually makes me feel like it's not going to be great. So, either way,
I mean, if it's not competitive this year, it may never be.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't think there's anything in particular about this year that makes it like a make it or break it year.
Yeah, I think you never know how regional strengths are going to trend. I think the most interesting, or one of the more interesting things, besides the fact of the entire tournament, but like EU versus NA strength of region stuff, like. If I really hope G2 and TL get to play in the knockout stage, because it has so much to say about Rift Rivals coming up and the strength of the regions, where like NA was super competitive at the top and G2 slammed Europe. And so if TL is competitive versus G2, then that means that maybe we have a stronger region and like G2 or Europe has more work to do, at least on the top end. So I think that is another, like, there's a lot of cool storylines going on beyond just like who's going to win this tournament.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, Matthew, any final thoughts?
Not really. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Shout out to Alienware.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Have a good one.
You too.
Mark, actually, I want to pause really quickly, not for the ad break, which we'll do after the next call, but that is one thing. You mentioned Rift Rivals. I did plan on bringing this up at the start of the show. When is Rift Rivals? So actually, we do know, but only from what I can tell from a graphic that has been shown on screen at the end of one of the LCS broadcasts. Let me see if I can find, because somebody tweeted at me, just for the people that want to know, but I think it's really frustrating that there's nowhere on the website, seemingly, that you can find the Rift Rivals dates. I mean, this goes into like the pile of complaints I've made about how Riot, shares information about this stuff. Oh, somebody DM'd it to me. That's right. And okay, here we go. I think I found it. Okay, Rift Rivals is June 24th to the 30th. So anybody who cares about it, you'll check it out then. So one, I just frustrating. Two, we don't know where it is. And that's less than 2 months away from us, and we don't know if it's in the EU studio or the NA studio. What the hell? Riot?
No comment?
That's fine. For what it's worth, I've heard it's in LA.
That's frustrating, though.
I've heard it's in LA.
What's that?
I've heard it's in LA. I'm just saying that now because I was like, should I just say this or not? But like, given that it's less than 2 months out, and we all have to like talk about Rift Rivals and the teams that are going to be at Rift Rivals and all this shit, but they won't say where it is. I'm just tired of it. So I'm just gonna say I've heard that it's in LA. Well, maybe this is my new rule. If Riot doesn't announce something and where it's going to be before 2 months hits,
we'll announce it for them.
I'll just say. But yes, the last I've heard it's in Los Angeles. So whatever. Let's move on to the next call.
You should make a knockoff NA esports site where you just like behind the scenes Jacob Wolf get all the information, but then like write the article for them and put it all out.
I'm on edge
next
today.
caller?
I'm sorry. I think it was the technical issues earlier, but I'm a little.
Was
bit
it the chat spamming this? Fuck this channel. There's no content.
No.
Was that the copy pasta that
I love
got
Twitch.
to you?
I love Twitch chat. I think I'm just frustrated about the technical issues, and other things that like just like that Rift Rivals thing has been on my mind for a while. Either way,
Alrighty.
go grab somebody else. I'll shout out some names. Monsalicious for 11 months, Frigio for 8 months, Tom Shu, Shadow554, Sadistic Nero, usernames are taken, Sableflag for 16, Superior Spider-Man for 2, OPTSM Man for 15, Easy Moto for 15, Killing You Guy, 1 year. Thank you, Killing You Guy. Kermit Sudoku for 16, and the Sea Cub coming in. But Holtz, Holtz, Nihilist Gamer, OPTSM fan, and Black Inferno. Let's move on to the next caller. Mark should be coming back here any second. Oh, did they release this? They tweeted the spring split date, Scamler? So apparently the spring split date has been in the rule book this entire time. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and they had shared it previously in a post about when tickets would go on sale. So they had talked about spring split starting, though I just wish they'd add it to their schedule. It's really annoying whenever they have like a schedule on their site and you're like, okay, I'll go look at the schedule for the thing that's starting in less than a month, and it's just not there. I don't know why Riot can't do that stuff. It drives me crazy. How many years of this? C9 Jack says, who reads the rulebook? That's a quote from a team owner. Zandrobe is here. Zandrobe, where are you calling from?
I sound like I missed a funny conversation.
What's that, Mark?
Did we miss a funny conversation about rulebooks?
Oh, I was just talking about how apparently the summer split start date had been in the LCS rulebook all year long, and it's just funny that it's just been sitting there, but like they don't put it anywhere or put it on the schedule. And Jack put in chat, who reads the rulebook, which I thought was funny to hear from an owner. Anyway, Zandrobe, you're calling from Iowa.
Yes, I am.
And you are a Twitch subscriber. Thank you very much for being a Twitch sub.
You're welcome.
What do you want to talk about on the show? I assume it's going to be Team Liquid related since your Discord icon is a Team Liquid icon.
Half and half, yeah. So I want to talk about how G2 is way overrated. I think that they were not challenged in Europe all year. The team that I think would have challenged them didn't even make it to the finals in Fnatic. I think Caps and Wonder aren't going to be able to smash their solo lanes as hard as they did, and so they're not going to be able to like play just off of their individual skill that they were able to win Europe with. And I also want to say that TL will make the finals.
TL will make the finals. So your take is G2 sucks and TL will make the finals.
Well, G2 doesn't suck, but I think they're overrated.
Okay. G2's overrated. Mark?
Let's figure out what overrated means, because we agree. You said their solo laners are not going to get their advantages. They'll get them against G2, or they'll get them against Fengwu and Flash Wolves, right? You think that, or do you think Flash Wolves can keep them in check as well?
I think that they're better than Fengwu, but I think that with Flash Wolves, I think it's half and half. I think Caps will definitely win the mid lane, but I think Hanabi for the Flash Wolves, I think he does have the ability to win his lane in top lane against Wonder. So I'm not saying that they'll smash Flash Wolves, but I think like Caps will be able to take it and take control of the game.
Okay, well, so the overrated part is simply that TL is better than them then, because it sounds like, I think G2 solo laners are good enough to crush Fengwu and Flash Wolves. That's not to say that the games won't get bloody and like all over the place, but like I think their solo laners are good enough to carry them against those two. I also think Perks is like not bad. I'm not saying he's a non-factor, but I think it really is the solo lanes that are going to matter in this tournament. And I think they're good enough to beat those two. It sounds like you're in agreement with that, and the question is, just are they the fourth, the third, or the second best team, right? And you're saying second and third, no way, they're definitely the fourth.
Well, I could see them actually taking fifth too, because I do think that Flash Wolves could beat them, and I think Flash Wolves could surprise people. I know that they had not the best series against Vega. I think Perks is not as good of a bot laner as Betty. And without Mickey X playing, I think the bot lane is even more crippled for G2. So I do think that with a possibility of top lane going even and then bot lane possibly going in Flash Wolves' favor, that Flash Wolves could actually take fourth over G2.
Twitch chat is in strong disagreement with you, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
Hey, Twitch chat is always right if we've learned anything.
It's true.
I think so. I'll say this. Like I said earlier, if the top four teams are all really close and someone slumps and loses a couple games and one of them is against one of these fourth or the fifth or sixth place teams, like maybe they can not end up in the top in the knockout stage. But I think for the most part, the top four teams are pretty clear cut, and I feel like Flash Wolves and Fengwu are below that. So the problem with me is we've seen Caps versus Jensen. And I think Jensen's gotten a little bit better with the meta. I think his ability to play the meta last Worlds was actually a problem, where he wasn't really playing Akali or Aurelia and was just on Lissandra duty. And I feel like he's not in that. So hopefully he matches up better versus Caps. But in this last time they played, he got destroyed by Caps. So I think there is a concern for Team Liquid versus them that Caps will have a very good showing, as well as I think Wonder will be able to take advantage of Impact. And so if you're losing both solo lanes, which I think is pretty probable, I have a hard time imagining Team Liquid being better than them. Now it's best of one, so maybe Team Liquid can still win, but
it's going to be the classic North American like international tournament where it's going to be like, hey, Doublelift's in the bot lane, we're losing our solo lanes. Who's going to win, the team that won the solo lanes or the team that's got Doublelift in the bot lane and is going to protect the ADC and all that shit?
Yeah. But the thing is, Team Liquid's playing carries top. Like, they did it all playoffs, and they did it in the matchup versus Fengwu, and I don't expect that to change. I think, like, the meta is carry tops for the most part, so they're going to play the meta, and then it's, like, a lot of skill matchups, and even if it's not skill matchups, it's like, okay, this one's favored, but you have to execute on it really well to actually, like, use the Jace effectively or whatever it is. So I'm concerned about that for TL. Even if Doublelift does hard slam Perks, he needs to be hard slamming with two losing solo lanes probably.
Do you?
Which is tough.
Do Do you think that if there's so much agreement that Impact is not going to do great in the top lane, that they should stop playing like carry tops and just sort of focus around winning through bot?
I don't think so. I know tanks got some buffs, but I don't really think tanks can survive that well in the current meta. Like, there's specific tanks that counter specific carry matchups, but with how many flexes there are, it's like really hard to guarantee you're going to get that. And then even if you do get that, it's usually not like you beat them. It's like you can hopefully go even, but you probably still don't have push priority or anything like that. And if the enemy team has priority mid and they roam up top, then they can still dive the tank and set them super far behind. So like I feel like tanks are actually pretty hard to execute on right now, and they're not like tank right now is not like pick tank and you're safe and fine and you can focus elsewhere. Pick tank is like pick tank, so your team fighting might be better, but you still have to make it through a tough laning phase probably.
Any other thoughts, Sandro?
No, just go TL. I know they're gonna make it to the finals.
Nice. I mean,
Hey,
yeah,
dude,
I guess we didn't talk too much about your position there, other than that you felt like G2 wasn't going to do it. But either way, hopefully they make it for you. Thank you, Xandro.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, everyone.
The good thing is you can call back in after they make finals and rub it in our face.
Yes. I mean, that's what this is all about. This is just a show where people can make these types of predictions. I do want to say thank you to Alienware for sponsoring the show. Just take a quick break right now. See if I have a video to show you guys. I don't at the moment, but that's okay. Actually, I'll pull it up off of YouTube. But they actually did a pretty cool thing for us at St. Louis, where they were able to help us make a live Hotline League happen. And I know that this is something that I had a great time doing. I think Mark did as well. Just kind of fun seeing all the folks come out and watch the show live. And it's a little bit of a different experience from, the next day where you're going to have, an arena full of fans going crazy. And anyway, we have a video here that I have over on my YouTube channel. I'm just going to drop it onto the screen, and we can watch it really quickly, just sort of showing what they and Intel were able to do and how they helped us out. So without further ado, I'll load this up. Hopefully everything works okay.
Hi.
And here's a quick ad that we can sit through. So this is actually not in English because I am traveling internationally. So
what product are we getting sold here?
I don't know, but I'm moving on.
It looks like healthcare of some kind.
Come on. Audio starting for the video. Only the most professional show. Cross Counter TV is rating just in time for the ad. Great. Perfect. Thank you, Cross Counter TV.
So we are in St. Louis, and Hotline League Live is about to happen. This is amazing because it's great that we can throw together a event for all the fans who want to catch something other than just the games tomorrow. It's been awesome working with Alienware and Intel. I know Buddy's been really excited about the Area 51M, which is helping us make this whole thing happen. Fans should be coming in any second, and I'm just really excited about this whole thing. The Area 51M to do all the live stream switching that we would normally use a much larger product for. We're routing an SLI slotted Decklink Quad 2 card, which is an internal card for, like a big desktop computer that we've routed through Thunderbolt, and we're now routing all of our cameras, everything that we're switching on this show, to the Area 51M. This is my video switcher. Everything is in this computer. I came with 3 bags to St. Louis, and we created an entire live stream. I've never been able to do that before. There is no other laptop that's this powerful. Believe me, I've tried to find it. It's bonkers.
Thanks so much to Alienware and Intel for making that live show happen. And also thanks to Cross Counter TV who rated us during that ad break. Perfect time to raid somebody whenever they're trying to promote a product at a brand. And DJ Wheat's in the chat, so shout out to him. And I think I saw Zareen. Whatever, some people. So thanks to Cross Counter TV. You can go check out their show. They have an untitled esports show that they do every week. I don't really know what it's about. I've tuned in a couple times. It's mostly Slasher ranting and raving. Anyway, Mark, you want to move on to the next call? Off he goes. A couple quick shout-outs while we're getting our next caller. Anime Girls for Christmas, up for 6 months. And Smoke Dog hit 1 year. Happy anniversary, Travis. Thanks, Smoke Dog. Really appreciate it. We're getting our next caller here on the show. Ventus Official is here. Ventus, you've been on the show before, I think, right? Oh. Did I lose Discord? What? Discord's dying right now. Let me see if I can switch our server so that we have better issues. Of course, the moment we get rated, we have technical issues. And Discord killing me. Server settings. We're going to change to Hong Kong. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. There we go. Audio fixed. Ventus Officials here. Ventus, where are you calling from?
Welcome, Cross Counter TV. This is Hotline League, where things go fucking wrong every 10 seconds.
Yes.
I'm calling from the DMV. Or DC, Maryland, Virginia area. My bad.
I was like, dude, come on. Why are you at the DMV at 10 p.m.?
Where are you calling from?
Dude, the line is just so long. I've been here all day. The DC area.
The DC area. Well, thanks for calling in. Twitch chat, hopefully you can hear us. For those that just joined us via the raid, we are broadcasting from a hotel in Vietnam, which has presented certain technical issues we've been trying to tackle and are continuing to tackle. Either way, thanks for calling in, Ventus. I think you've called in before, correct?
I have.
All right,
and
very
I've
good.
been here in spirit every episode.
Well, thank you. Also, if you can get a little closer to your microphone, I've turned you up to 200%, but you're still a little quiet.
Okay, is this better?
That's way better, yeah. What do you want to talk about?
So I think that the NALCS would benefit from geolocation if done right, even if they're still playing in California with the help of sponsors. And so first, I want to say like the pros of geolocation. First, it would be people would be fans of teams instead of players, and people who don't have a team, which I am one of those people, would have a team to root for. Because like for me, I have been watching NALCS for so long, and I watch every Travis Gafford interview, you know, so I kind of feel like I know players on every team, and I kind of am rooting for them. So I don't really have a team, and so I feel like geolocation would help in that sense. But I think to make it work, you would have to incorporate the sponsors for Riot to do something cool. And so like examples of that would be, and keep in mind, I know that this might be a little unrealistic, but this is what I think of when I'm bored. So if they got like Buffalo Wild Wings to sponsor NALCS, right? Then at every Buffalo Wild Wings, they could have a TV with that team that is geolocated playing that one match. They could have some sort of contract negotiation for that. Or even if they didn't geolocate, they could do like match of the day. You could also do like Regal movie theaters, something like that. Like overall, I think like they need to do something with sponsorships to increase the fan viewing experience or change things up. You could even do like HTC with the Vive and have like a virtual reality esport arena, things like that. But like overall, I feel like if you geolocate, that's going to help a lot of teams gain fans, not because of their players, because players come in and out like a revolving door. Even players that have been like Aframu was on CLG and then he moved to 100 Thieves. Like how many CLG fans moved to 100 Thieves because of that? So, and I also feel like a lot of teams are not really reaching or doing very much to make them fans of their team besides like fans of the players. Besides like 100 Ds, maybe Golden Guardians, there's a few options, but I feel like it would add innovation to the space and it would be a really good opportunity. But if executed poorly, it would not do well. So those are just my thoughts.
So this is our quarterly geolocation topic. I feel like once every 2 to 3 months we need to talk about geolocation. I think the unique part, and I assume, Mark, the reason you picked the call was because of sort of the discussion around bringing sponsors in and sort of an idea of what that would actually look like.
Yeah, more the implementation. Yeah.
So on the high level, for people who haven't heard our geolocation things before, I think Mark and I are both in favor of geolocation. For those that don't know what that means, because maybe you don't follow Overwatch League or whatever, it would basically be like Team Liquid are the San Francisco Team Liquid, and you'd have the actually it'd probably be more like San Francisco Golden Guardians, since they've got the Warriors up there, and you'd have the Texas or Houston Clutch, and you'd sort of find which teams have certain affiliations with different teams or regions, and then you'd officially make that the case. I was originally against geolocation, and then I saw Overwatch League do it. It doesn't make sense to me how it worked, but it feels like it worked. And so I am on board with it, and it does help give orgs a bit of identity, and as you pointed out, Ventus, orgs have had a really hard time creating their own identities that last beyond or extend beyond their players. So this would at least give them a leg up. In terms of the sponsorship side of it, I think it's interesting. It's not a bad idea to try to come up with, like, all right, in a world where, unlike Overwatch League, League of Legends doesn't start to pit all these teams in different cities and have arenas or whatever, what do the on-site experiences look like? Like, if I am in San Francisco or the Bay Area and I care about following the Golden Guardians because they're affiliated with my region, like, where can I go watch these games? And so I actually think that would be kind of neat. And then, one thing, Mark, I'm kind of curious about your take on this. I don't know if you saw this, but Overwatch League did an event in Texas where it was like for I think the Dallas Field hosted it, and they actually brought like a lot of games, like the teams out, and they did a whole thing in Dallas, and you could watch it. And it wasn't part of like a finals or anything like that. It was just kind of like, imagine if week 5 of the LCS took place at the Oracle Arena in the Bay Area, because the Golden Guardians host like LCS week 5, and you can just go watch all that. I actually think that would be kind of cool. So I don't know, Mark, thoughts?
Yeah, I think I like that. So my stance on geolocation is I think traveling around all that stuff is actually kind of dumb, and that was why when I heard the Overwatch League pitch, I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, that's such burnout, like just knowing the pro player lifestyle and what they like and all that stuff. But when it was just like, it's mostly a name, and like with like on-site activations for fans, like that's when I was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. And so if the entire league partners with Buffalo Wild Wings and they host viewing parties in each city for their teams or something every time, or maybe the teams themselves pick out their like kind of local scene thing that they're going to do, like, oh, you're Buffalo Wild Wings, well, we're, like you said, Regal Cinemas or ArcLight or something, and everyone has like the place that their fans are supposed to locally go to. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so like I feel like overall, if you just geolocate but you don't really do much, I can see why people are like, oh, it's a global league, and that's true. Like, there are people around the globe who have teams. Like, there will definitely be people here who are still like Team Liquid or TSM fans. Hopefully we get Team Liquid, because I know Steve is from our area, but but I feel like if you can do things besides building arenas in these cities, even if that is the end goal, there are steps to take before that, where you can incorporate sponsorships and make the regionalization like actually effective and increase the viewing experience. I feel like the sponsorships and stuff are nice that they're doing, but I feel like it doesn't really increase the viewer experience to say. And I feel like it's a big opportunity to actually like find new ways. Like honestly, if there was just like a virtual reality arena for League for Worlds or something, like that would be a cool viewing experience. I would pay money for that. And like you could partner with HTC. And I feel like geolocations in general give a lot of opportunity, not only to teams to like figure out their own stuff, but to utilize and like, I don't know, kind of like incentivize sponsors to do stuff besides like give money and like have name recognition with the broadcast. Like, I feel like there's so many ways you can incorporate quote unquote non-endemic sponsors with geolocation that would really benefit both parties. And I feel like it's amazing opportunity. And I'm surprised that there's not as much innovation in the space, both from a lot from teams for trying to get fans and from Riot in general. But I'm also not in the loop for what they're doing with their sponsorships. So I know that seems kind of weird. But those are honest. That's just my opinion on things.
Jack says he thinks any city would be awkward in front of Cloud9. What if it was behind Cloud9? Cloud9 St. Louis. Cloud9 Chicago. I think that'd be great.
Cloud9, what was the city in BioShock Infinite in the sky?
Columbia
or something?
Yeah.
I agree with the point that like, you know, the brands in Overwatch League were largely designed from the ground up to incorporate those kinds of names, and they didn't really do that for League. Like some of the newer ones kind of did with like Clutch Gaming and Golden Guardians and stuff like that. So those ones feel a little closer, but the old school teams don't have that. But I still think I would like to see that for the long-term health of the league figured out a little bit. So like, yeah, slapping a city name in front of C9 sounds weird, but how can we?
What if teams like adopted a city?
Well, I mean, like, what do you, in terms of branding, what does that mean?
Well, you know, like maybe you don't necessarily need to have it be like the Las Vegas Cloud9s, but you tell the story, which is, hey, we are tired of, or look, okay, here's something I've been thinking about lately, and this is kind of what I was hinting at with the hosting an away match or away weekend or something like that. If you are a League of Legends fan, you really have to go to Los Angeles if you want to see your team play, probably, right? Think about St. Louis. St. Louis had two teams that were there, TSM and Team Liquid. Well, what if you're a Cloud9 fan and you live in the Midwest? All right, well, when's the next time that we're going to return to the Midwest? And is Cloud9 going to be there? What if they have a rough split and they don't make it? And so I think it's kind of unfortunate that the LCS is really so stuck in LA. It kind of sucks for the rest of the North American fans. So I think having the story be, look, we want to break out of LA as a league, and Cloud9 is going to take Miami, and they're going to do cool events in Miami. They're going to reach out to the community there. They're going to have like a great experience there. Maybe there's some sort of like brand stuff happening there. I don't know. But you somehow kind of affiliate them, even if it's not as official as like the Miami Cloud9s. And then what ends up happening, and I think it'd be cool because the other thing I was thinking about, I know this all sounds kind of like half-formed or whatever, because it is half-formed, but the other thing I was thinking about is Madison Square Garden, which owns CLG, is in New York. They own different venues. A lot of these sports orgs own different venues. I would love to see an LCS week, like once a split. It's not just like TSM and TL coming to St. Louis. It's CLG with Madison Square Garden. You know, the Chicago Theater for one weekend is going to have all 10 teams show up, and you're going to watch LCS there. I think that would be really nice. I understand that there are financial realities around it, and I don't know what that looks like, but I think I'm kind of tired of the LCS being so locked away in LA. Because I feel like League of Legends esports is a great experience that I'd love to see people around North America enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the logistics of how they have to, like, I see all those giant red crates that they pack up full of like all the tech that they need to broadcast this at a high quality, and that is a big ask to like be able to move that around multiple times to split for like not very high importance games.
So what you do is you start telling these companies they're on so like MSG is this giant event company, right? Tell MSG that they're on the hook to make it work. Like, okay, MSG, you need to sell the tickets, you need to bring the sponsors, you need to provide the gear or something, and see if they're interested in making that work. I feel like a lot of these companies would. If you gave MSG, like, hey, Madison Square Garden, summer split, you told them right now, summer split of 2020, week 6, we want you to, if you want, you can have all of LCS come to New York. You just need to make it work. I feel like there's a good chance that they would go for it.
I feel like if you just did that with playoffs, that would work. Like you could still, what if you just did the regular season in California, but then you did playoffs somewhere else? And those are important weeks, so people would show up.
Playoffs in someplace else, you're saying?
Yeah, he's saying put playoffs in other cities.
I think that's just really hard to make happen because you like the nice thing about having it happen in week 6 is that you don't have to worry about where we're going to be next week. Like if it traveled around like Worlds, that's like pretty intense on the travel perspective or whatever. But if it's just one isolated week, that'd be great. By the way, some people in chat are saying, what's the incentive? These are event companies. They make events happen all the time and profit off of them. So I feel like, and they have sales teams, they know how to have on-site activations, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the incentive is, hey, we're going to fill your arena, or you're going to fill your arena with League fans, and you need to make it work.
And I think the other idea that this all stemmed from was the idea of giving fans something to latch on to beyond, I like this player or this team is good. Like, some people won't care about that stuff. Like, oh, this is the team that represents my city. And that's what I thought. Like, I was of the opinion that, like, if you don't actually have anything physically there, then fans aren't going to give a fuck. But apparently, based off what I've seen from Overwatch League, just slapping names in front of things and branding it appropriately and doing a couple fan events is actually enough to make people kind of fans of their local, quote unquote, local team. So, I was surprised at, from what I can tell, the effectiveness of the Overwatch League model where they don't actually even really geolocate. So I was like, all right, how can we incorporate something similar?
Yeah, I just want to see. I just want to see us get out of LA, and I don't know if that's geolocation. I don't know if that's something like what I was just talking about, but I think it'd be nice to see more than just the LA studios. But Riot's budget cutting everything, so it's probably unlikely. Any other thoughts, Ventus?
I'll try to make it quick since this has been a little long. I also think that teams could be doing things to get fans of their organization besides like fans of their players. Like, I feel like 100 Thieves does a really good job of this, but like, for example, for Cloud9, right, you have a bunch of different esports, like Rocket League, Counter-Strike. So like, have a podcast with Jack or whoever, and then have different people in those esports on every week. Like, I feel like things like that. I don't feel like organizations are doing anything.
Nobody
like
cares
that
about anything other than their one esport.
Yeah,
but I will tell you right now, like, that stuff doesn't.
Get people to care.
I mean, so some of that stuff does happen. Like, orgs do that. Optic did that for a while, I believe. And media companies will try to do like Sports Center style shows where you talk about multiple esports. But the amount of people that watch League of Legends that care about any other esport is a very small overlap. And by the way, that one esport might be CSGO. So then if you're showing them League of Legends and Call of Duty, then they just don't care. People aren't going to sit through content about stuff they don't care about.
I had a meeting recently with some podcast people, and we talked about they were talking about a lot of stuff, and then someone was like, "Oh man, there's not really like a podcast ESPN Sports Center show where someone podcast breaks down." And I was like, let me save you. Like, this is like literally thousands of dollars worth of advice. Just handing this out. You're like, I'm about to save you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't do that. Just invest in a bunch of small shows that don't cost as much, that are specific to the game.
Okay, I think I'm just biased because I tend to be more fans of organizations. Like Cloud9, I like a lot of their different teams. And so, like, I think it would be super dope to, like, see Mango talk to, like, Jensen and Squishy from Rocket League.
And there are definitely people, there's definitely people like you. And I'm not saying no one is like this. But from a business perspective, there are not enough of you to justify the production value that people usually put into a show like that.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where you say something like this, and then 5 people on Twitch chat go, "Well, I like the Call of Duty team too," or "Well, I also kind of follow Smash." It's like, okay, that's great, but you're not, like, you doing that is not representative of a massive audience willing and able to support a show that covers every single esport. And anyway, we are kind of off topic, Ventus. I'm sorry, but we do have to move on to last call.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Thanks for adding me to the call, and shout out to Alienware, Offline TV. I'm really digging the podcast, and I guess Travis Gafford Industries.
Thanks, dude. Have a good one.
You too.
Mark, can I just
shout
say,
out my cat? Fucking really?
Can I just say I appreciate you?
Why
I
is
realize
that?
I haven't been very positive this episode. I just want to say it's really, I know that your sleep schedule's messed up and stuff, so the fact that you're taking the time to be on this show, it's really nice.
Yeah, you can see I'm really putting my all in.
I mean, it's about as much as you normally put in. All right.
That's true. Last guy.
Can you please, the recent Ovly interview with Doublelift posted on TL channel, I want to see you and Mark Z reaction. I don't know what that means. I'm not just going to watch
the Ovly Doublelift thing?
Yeah, I don't know. OPTSM fan is here. OPTSM fan, welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. You've been on the show before.
Yep.
Many times. And thanks for being a Twitch sub. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Just the quick thing is that if Team Liquid doesn't get 4th, or essentially doesn't make it out of group stage, then I think it's a failure. But if they make it to finals, then I think they're probably the best international team that NA's ever had.
Okay, there's two. I like that you have two very strong. We're on one end of the spectrum or the other here.
Yeah.
Well, first off, what do you think they're going to do?
I think that they're going to choke, and somehow one of the either Fongvu or Flash Wolves is gonna come back the next week on Hotline League, and everyone's gonna be really depressed and say, "Oh, I knew it, and it was so and so that did it in this series," and it's just like, no, it's just they just choked again.
So, are you saying this because you're a TSM fan?
No, not really. I mean, TSM's not at this tournament. They didn't win, so they're not relevant right now.
Well,
would TSM get out of groups?
If they played well, I mean, it's irrelevant to talk about it right now.
Yeah, we're just trying to trap you. It's best of right.
I'm not one of those TSM fans.
Yeah, I agree that if TL doesn't get 4th, it's a massive disappointment, and I agree that if they make finals, I think they're. So we were talking about this a lot too, about like CLG 2016, like how good were they really? How, were they the best international team NA's ever sent? And I think
the two contenders for best NA team internationally are C9 last year and CLG in 2016, right?
Well, I think it raises the question of when you say best, are you saying best performing, or were they like one of the most skilled teams we've sent? Because I would argue CLG was not the best performing, or like not the best skilled team. There's probably a number of teams that were more skilled, like some of the TSM rosters.
The CLG team that we sent to MSI was just better prepared and had an earlier read on the meta at that time, and had some really good plays from Xmithy as well, and Huhi with his pocket ace hole.
Yeah, they had a very unique play style that which ended up taking over the world, where no one was really playing range supports, and that's kind of what they were doing. And they surprised a lot of people with their drafts. They had good creative planning and stuff like that. But I don't think that they were a better team than, say, 2017 or 2016 TSM at Worlds or anything like that. So I would say that if they make the finals of this, they're probably the best. But it depends how they get there a little bit. Like, I don't know how, but like if they play Flash Wolves again, and like I would want to see them have an impressive win against G2, SKT or IG in semis, which it feels like they would have to get to finals. But if they don't and they have to play Flash Wolves or something, I would not be like, wow.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: if Flash Wolves and Liquid make it, someone's really dropped the ball, because I don't see that ever happening. So like in my scenario, they've made fourth, and they're going to probably play like IG when G2 plays SKT on the other side or something like that. It'll be like 1 versus 4. And if they could do that, then it's like unequivocally, I don't think you could say that they're not the most talented team that we've said. And I know Jack's in the chat, so no offense, Jack. I still rooted for you guys and everything, but it was just, that's where I think we're at right now.
Right, and I mean, I think in a lot of ways, this, even if that happens, like let's say they play G2 and they beat G2 in quarters or in semis, and then they play in finals and lose. Like I would still say in some ways C9's run last year was more impressive. It was more surprising because it's a Worlds. They came through play-ins. They had to pull off like monstrous games against RNG and Africa. So like that's all really impressive. But I think you can make the case that if they make finals and they beat another really good team from one of these regions, then it's probably the best North American international representative.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, at that point, it's the best performing and probably the most talented if they win finals.
Well, yeah, but not win. I just mean make finals. Okay. Even you could argue best performance, maybe.
Yeah, if it's close. But on the other side of the take is that if they don't get it, this is a huge failure, and I think it'll be. I think NA fans should start questioning, in my opinion, Doublelift at international events, because it'll be a reoccurring theme at that point.
But it's just a weird thing for me to say, for me to hear, because cue all the people on Twitch chat being like, oh, I don't know, Travis and Doublelift. But look, I agree with you if he has consistently been choking at all these things, and certainly he didn't do well for a while, but as Mark and I have talked about before on the show, I think there's a pretty good understanding that he did well last year, and if he shows up and the failures are elsewhere, like in the draft or in top lane or wherever,
top lane,
it just
jungle, mid, anything.
It feels weird to be like, well, Doublelift sucks. Don't send him to international events.
Well, no, okay, obviously that's fair, Travis, and obviously I'm putting the cart before the horse a bit, but that's assuming that from what Doublelift said when this team was made, that he has 2 Worlds winners on his team, a Worlds semifinalist and a MSI semifinalist, and he has the least accolades internationally of all the people on his team. So it's like, if everyone was to perform to their level now.
Yeah, but a lot of these things are from years ago. Like, Impact winning Worlds years ago is great. I'm telling you what Peter said. What?
I'm telling you what Peter said when the video came out that this team.
Yeah, it's a great soundbite, and he's great at producing it.
Yeah, it's a hype piece.
I don't think that like, well, if Xmithy and Impact choke like that, they are MSI finalists and world champions, so it's clearly on that kid in the bot lane who can't get his shit together.
No, it's not a way to scapegoat them out just because they had one good season many years ago. I'm just saying that if they do that, my assumption going forwards is that it's going to be based off of Doublelift, because outside of, in my opinion, last year's Worlds, where he looked really, really good, and then just most recently, I don't think he looked really good in the Fangvu series. But if they don't make it, I think it's going to be off the back of him. Not because if they don't make it, it has to be.
It's odd for me to hear that when most people are considering their bot lane to be their strength. Like, it feels it's most likely that if they have issues, it won't be in the bot lane.
I mean, the weird part for me about this conversation is we're saying, like, if they do this, then they'll be great, and if they don't do this, they'll be bad. As opposed to saying, I just don't think it'll happen because I don't believe in Doublelift. Like, if you were taking the opinion that Doublelift isn't good enough and not a great international leader, and you're just saying, well, this is my thoughts, but it feels like you're determining what the takeaway is going to be without seeing what happens, and not saying
fair. That's fair.
Because I think you can say, I think the rest of the team is really solid. They've all had international success. Doublelift is the only one who hasn't. So I think that they're going to choke like NA always does, and it'll be on Peter. Like, if that's your point, hot take, I appreciate it.
Then maybe I've just been explaining it wrong, and that has been my take the whole time.
Okay, cool.
And I'll admit that I probably just worded it wrong in lol TSM fan delusion.
What I will agree with you on is he doesn't have an excuse from a support perspective this year. Because in the past, it's like, okay, well, Biofrost is kind of new. He's still like a younger player. Or Ole's like benching himself at MSI. It's hard when he records. He's got the MVP, the league MVP in his lane with him. So I agree that if like things are going bad in the bot lane, it's going to be hard to come up with an excuse to defend his behavior. But Lord knows I'll try.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect any less from you. Right. That's for sure. That's why I support you.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think it'll be really interesting. I don't think he'll perform too badly, but I mean, if he's getting slapped by Teddy and Jackie Love and I don't know whoever else,
I think my biggest thing is that, I think if what we saw from like the Fangvu series, where people start focusing Core JJ's support pool again, I think Froskin, you were talking about it, how he just looks so different the way that Team Liquid plays when he's on the likes of like Kench and Braum. If that could inherently make bottom lane look worse, and maybe not just being all on Doublelift. So that's something I think will be interesting going forward into group stage.
Yeah, we were saying we liked him a lot on Kench and Braum.
Well, I think that might be it. Do you have any other thoughts, OPTSM fan, or any shoutouts or anything?
That home and home series from Overwatch that you were talking about was awesome. I was there. I think that Hotline League doing great content. Thanks, Travis, for everything. Mark Z. And yeah, TSM fans are delusional.
Thanks, dude. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Well, that is the show. I want to thank everyone for watching and apologize. I know this isn't one of our stronger episodes. We've had tech issues, and it's a little bit of a weird world for me over here dealing with all this stuff. So I think, I get not the best episode of Hotline League, but hopefully you guys still enjoyed it.
I don't know what you mean, dude. My cat killed it this episode.
Your cat always kills it. I believe that's why your cat tunes in. Or people tune in because you're a cat.
I think he can hear you a little bit through the speakers, and your voice is just so good for putting people to sleep. He just comes up and falls right asleep.
I assume there's a lot of people that fall asleep listening to the show. Like at night, you know.
I mean, given how late it is on the East Coast, yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's great. People love it when I host them or raid them after the show is done, because those viewers aren't going.
You got all the sleep viewers.
Yeah, exactly. Jack was talking in here earlier. He hasn't talked for a while. I assume he's conked out. Anyway,
put Jack to sleep.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to shout out, plug here at the end?
Nothing to shout out specifically. I had fun on the AD. We'll see. going forward. And I think people who are offline TV fans, sorry, like both our editors, their Premiere is acting really weird. Brodin's Premiere, he's supposed to have made the D&D thing like a week and a half ago before he left for Vietnam, and it blew up. And so now we're just like, well, we haven't put out any content for a little bit because this shit.
I can attest to that, by the way. He's been having a ton of issues with Premiere here, and we're hoping it gets fixed. I need it to get fixed before we start doing interviews, otherwise things are going to get messy.
Yeah. Yep, I am in the same boat.
Trying to think. On my end, we're going to have interviews start going up soon, just a couple days from now. Brodin and I were talking, and as long as Premiere is working, this should be able to make it. Last year during MSI, we did like a little daily vlog. It's like 4 to 5 minutes long. Hopefully we'll be able to do that again. We'll see what the internet and everything's like at the final hotel that we're moving to soon. And I'm sorry that the channel's been a little quiet. Sorry that the show had tech issues. I apologize to all of you. I apologize that my opinions don't always like line up perfectly with yours. I understand that to some of you that makes me a cuck, but I love you anyway. Other than that, I think that's the show. Thanks everyone for watching. This has been Hotline League episode 74.